So, you've loaded into your first Dead by Daylight match and you hear the heartbeat of the killer getting closer and closer, and then you end up doing something stupid like this and getting downed immediately because, well, you didn't look around or you did something a little bit goofy. Well, don't worry, I've got just the thing for you. Lushy's coming in with a guide to save you some much needed brain cells and help you get better at Survivor. And then maybe, hopefully, instead of going down immediately in the first 60 seconds, you'll have an answer to why your teammates are doing something goofy like this. Let's get right on into it and make you better at DBD with Lushy's Beginner Guide to Dead by Daylight. So, the very first thing that we're going to get to is learning the basics, because if you don't have these, then you're not going to actually be good at the game. So, whenever you load into the match, the first thing you're going to notice is your HUD that tells you how many gens are left. Also, make sure you're paying attention to these survivor portraits, because it will tell you what your teammates' health states are, if they're in chase, and what they're actually currently doing. And of course, if you know what your perks are, just check down there, and if you want to, click up here to see the build that I recommend for beginners, because this will help you out a lot. Next thing you want to also do is be aware that the killer will usually spawn on the opposite side of the map as you. Let's say you spawn here at Shack on this map, or 5 as the comp players call it, because, you know, we're fancy here. The killer is going to spawn up here in the top left, or 11 if you're a comp player again, and then you just want to try to do a gen either on the opposite side of them, or just try to go and sneak around them to get on the side where they just spawn from, knowing this information, because it will help you stay away from the killer and stay out of chase as long as possible. And chase is the last thing you want to be doing instead of the objectives like the generators. Speaking of generators, let's get into the actual objectives of Dead by Daylight. Well, of course, one of them is generators to actually open the exit gate. You need to complete 5 of these a trial to actually escape and win the match as Survivor. And also, Survivor has multiple other objectives, but the other important one being unhooking other survivors. If you don't actually do this, your teammates are going to die, and it's going to make it a lot harder for you to win, because if you don't have all 4 people, then that's less people that can be on generators at a time while the other person is taking chase, or doing other objectives that need to be done in the match. So, make sure that you're always going for your teammates whenever possible, and not letting them die on hook, because if you let your teammates die on hook, they're one, not going to be too happy with you, and also you're not going to be too happy with yourself, because you probably just cost yourself the match, because like doing 5 generators with 3 people left whenever it's a nurse that's really good at blinking, and well, you're all constantly being in chase or being slugged. Another thing is chase. That is another obvious objective, that DVD, that is going to happen here or there eventually. No matter how stealthy you be, no matter how much you try to avoid it, you will be in chase eventually. Your 2 main resources during chase will be windows and pallets. These will help you extend the chase and maybe even escape them completely. Lastly, we have the exit gate, which is how you get out once every generator has been done. So, what survivors should I level up? Well, to start off, I actually recommend leveling up these 3 survivors because they have the best perks for beginners. Starting off, we have Meg Thomas, with her perks Sprint Burst and Adrenaline being some of the best perks in the game, and Quick and Quiet being a good escape perk for beginners because it will help you escape chase a lot quicker. Wyatt and Claudette, because they both have really good perks, which one is the info perk called Bond, which lets you see all your teammates when they're injured, or maybe even not injured if I'm thinking correctly, and Prove Thyself, which lets you do generators faster with your teammates, which you need to be sticking near anyway. Items. So, as a new survivor, there's a lot of items in the game that I don't recommend you run, so we're actually just going to give you the recommendations that I do suggest, because some of these are just going to get you killed. Make sure that you're running medkits and toolboxes, and preferably ones that are actually good at healing you and can be used multiple times or do generators way faster. Another item that I can say you can use, but I wouldn't suggest it, is flashlights, because these are a little bit more challenging to use for newer players. Now, flashlights are some of the best things in the game because they can prolong a chase, and they can also even save your teammates from being picked up by the killer. But the only thing is, though, a lot of people don't know how to actually use them properly. I've seen so many survivors try to use them as the killer is walking directly at them, which you should most definitely not do because this will get you killed very quickly. So, how do I actually use a flashlight? Well, whenever a killer is picking up a survivor, he'll watch out for this little head tilt, and this was when you want to use the flashlight. Any earlier, and you could easily miss your flashlight timing. Speaking of extending chase, up next is chase basics. So, as I said earlier on, chase is something that you're pretty much never going to be able to avoid completely on DBD, and you're at least going to get chased once per match, usually. Unless you're just getting a really weird killer that doesn't like to chase you for whatever reason, which does happen from time to time. But to actually extend your chases and make them a lot better, especially as a new survivor, which you obviously want to try to prevent them as much as possible, just make sure that you're hugging every object as tightly as you possibly can. This will extend the amount of time you can loop around it and actually maybe even keep you further away from the killer and prevent you from getting downed. Also, make sure that you're always keeping the killer on your camera. Try to angle your camera to the side so that way you can actually see what's going on during the chase. And make sure you practice this in either a custom game or even using the DBD Survivor tutorial that'll actually let you play a full game of Survivor against the AI killer. Now, I can't show you how to loop everything in the game, but I am going to at least show you 2 of the most valuable loops in the game for you to learn. So, The first one is shack. Shack, you want to follow the blue line and loop around this as many times as you possibly can. This will be going through the door opposite of the pallet and through the window, and then looping back around over and over again. Now, if you realize the killer is getting a little bit too close to you and you can't make it around another time, then you want to head to the pallet, which is following the magenta line. And then, once you drop the pallet, it'll make the killer either stuck inside the shack or outside, depending on which way you dropped it. And this will allow you to get away pretty easily because the killer basically has to break the pallet to be able to do anything. And yeah, this is a pretty useful thing. Next up is T&Ls. T&L walls are a little bit more, a little bit less safe than shack, but they're actually still pretty strong if you know how to use them. Obviously, you want to try to stay within the blue area, which is basically just trying to loop through the middle of the T&L wall and trying to avoid the magenta line. The magenta line is the one that is on the outside, and it makes you a lot more vulnerable to getting downed by the killer or a simple mind game. Now, if you're going through the middle, it makes it a lot harder for the killer to actually catch up to you, and can honestly be used almost infinitely as long as the window doesn't get blocked. Stealth. Sneaking is a lot more valuable for newer players than chase is, because if you could avoid chase entirely, that's probably the best thing you could do as a new player, considering you're not too confident in your ability yet. If you look at this clip here, I actually managed to escape the night here without being seen and not engaging into a chase to go save my teammates when I'm the last person alive. If I got into a chase here, we would have probably lost the match instantly, and we wouldn't have been able to continue and maybe had a chance to get out. You want to make sure that you're learning to sneak before you learn to chase. It'll also allow you to pull off flashlight saves more consistently. If you want to see a good stealth build, click the video on the top right now. Objectives. So as I covered earlier in the video, there are a lot more objectives in DBD than just doing gens, but again, gens are the main thing. And you want to do gens right, because if you don't, you're going to get yourself screwed in the endgame. So, here's a map of gens. So, let's say we're on Mount Ormond and there's 8 generators every match. You want to make sure that you're doing gens that are actually as far away from each other as possible so that the last 3 gens are not clumped up together. Say the bottom 3 gens. If those are your last 3 gens, you're going to be screwed. So, instead of doing that, you want to do the gens similarly to like this. I marked on them in which order you should do them to help you avoid 3genning yourself and circle the ones that you actually should do. This will make it where the killer has to go really far across the map to actually get to the last gen, so that way you have a better chance of completing it. And even if it's a strong killer with good match rolls such as the Nurse or Springtrap or any of those killers, it'll give you a lot better chance because even they can't be everywhere at once, especially if they have to commit to a chase, which does happen from time to time. So make sure that you're abusing the fact that generators are really far apart. Next up is, again, unhooking. Whenever you unhook someone, please make sure that you do yourself and them a favor, and make sure that the killer is not right next to you, because you can get hit and immediately downed, or you can get them and tunneled out of the game really quickly. And another pro tip is to make sure that no one else who's getting downed is near that hook, because if you immediately unhook somebody after someone was just downed right next to that hook, it lowers their chances of actually getting away from the killer and wiggling free. This is because they can just immediately go to that hook and hook the survivor you just unhooked someone. So make sure that you're at least giving them a little bit of time to wiggle free, or maybe even just have an extra chance to waste the killer's time because they have to walk further. Lastly, there's totems. Now, I understand that some people want to do these because they're part of a challenge and they give you blood points, but unless you're doing it for the challenge, and which you shouldn't be doing right now anyway, considering you're a beginner, or for your rank, which again, beginner, you shouldn't be worried about that too much, then just don't do them unless you have a perk like Circle of Healing. Speaking of ranks, let's talk about ranks in DBD. So we don't actually have a traditional rank system anymore like we used to from 20 to 1, which used to determine your matchmaking. Now that's determined by MMR. Now we have grades from Ash 4 to Eerie 1, which don't actually determine anything. They do literally nothing other than give you 1,000,000 blood points for each one that you have at the end of the month. So if you want to get blood points fast, this is a good way to do it. That's the only reason I'm teaching you this, because they don't actually mean anything other than you get blood points and you play the game a lot. And I guess it could be a flex to your friends if they just don't understand how ranks work. So if you want to flex to your newer friends, go for it. But anyway, I'm going to actually teach you how to get these ranks up. So, starting off with the Lightbringer, this is just doing generators and objectives in the game. You want to try to do at least 3 to 4 gens a match to get this completed and get it into the Eerie category. Up next is Unbroken. This is very simple. Just try not to get hooked the entire match. I know that sounds harder, but the more you hook, the more it goes down. Benevolent. This is just simply unhooking your teammates as many times as you possibly can. I always aim for 2 a match. Evader. Evader is also a little bit weird because it does determine off chase and escapes, but a good rule of thumb is to try to get at least 30 seconds to a minute worth of chase and then escape once to twice a match, and this should get your Eerie medal on that. Strategy I just told you is called the 3-2-1 strategy, a strategy where you do 3 generators, 2 unhooks, and try to do 1 chase that lasts for 1 minute. This will help you rank up a lot faster in the game and get those million blood points at the end of the month, considering, again, they don't actually do anything, so don't stress it if you can't get it because it doesn't mean anything anymore, so just try to do it for your blood points. Other than that, don't worry too much about it because it's not that big of a deal. No one's gonna judge you anymore, I promise. Mental side. So everyone knows DBD can be quite infuriating and really piss you off. And honestly, everyone's guilty of it. I myself get quite furious at DBD at times because sometimes it really is just a piss take. But the best thing to do is do not care. If you tell yourself you don't care enough, eventually you actually won't care. I'm studying criminology, which is a side of psychology that focuses on the criminal mind. And trust me, if there's one thing I've learned, that if you tell yourself something, eventually in your mind it will become true. General tips for DBD. So, general tips that I have for you is to always be looking around whenever you're looking on generators, because if you do this, you can't be snuck up on and grabbed off the gen. This is the last thing you want to actually happen to you while you're doing the objective of the game. It's an instant down, and it can get you hooked almost instantaneously. So make sure that you're please looking around, especially it's a stealth killer. And if you don't know if it's a stealth killer, then especially be looking around because you'll be shitting your pants in no time. Also, if anyone ever tells you to run the perks that I'm about to name, please tell them to fuck off kindly. If they tell you to run self-care, or no mither, tell them that you're no longer friends because they're just trying to fuck you over. I'm kidding, of course, but don't actually run self-care, and especially if anyone's telling you to run no mither, they're just an evil bastard that want to get you killed really early in the game, so don't listen to them and don't trust them. I promise you, you don't need that person to tell you your DBD build. Just go look on the internet, go watch one of my videos, or go watch another DBD YouTubers. Common myths. So there's a lot of myths in DBD that the tutorial actually teaches you, and there's also some myths that are just in the game in general. So a myth that the tutorial likes to teach you is, hide in locker, killer bad. And if you hide into a locker, 95% of the time you're just gonna get grabbed and die instantly. So don't do that, please. Please do yourself a favor and stay out of that. Another myth is that self-care, again, is good, because a lot of people say that comp players use it, so it's going to be a good perk, and it can be clutch in very rare scenarios. Which, yes, self-care can be good if everyone on the team decides to collectively have a shit and then just all die. If you're the last person alive, I guess it could be useful, but then again, really, you don't want that to be the case, and you shouldn't be planning for that to be the only scenario that you're gonna have every single match, so don't fucking run self-care. Just go look up a build that you'll use that's actually way better. So in conclusion, Dead by Daylight is a bit of a shitty game sometimes, and it gets to the best of us, and it can be really difficult to learn when you're new. But with a little bit of extra help, anyone can be good at this game. Don't try to stress about it too much. You'll get better. Just keep playing, watch some videos, it'll help you a little bit. Play killer, that'll help you also understand a lot of the blind spots. So just practice. That's the main thing that you can do in DBD, and it'll make you a lot better over time. I learned to play DBD from watching a bunch of other people play it, and also playing it myself. Hopefully it makes you a little bit more confident in yourself and makes you a little bit more comfortable playing DBD and getting better at it for yourself. And I hope you have a good time, and try not to cry after you have 5,000 hours in this game, because I guarantee you'll want to cry many times. Okay, anyway, so thank you guys very much for watching, and if you found this useful, hit the subscribe button and like, and go check out some of my other videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!